In most sports, records get broken. That's the whole point. Someone runs faster, jumps higher, scores more. But in darts, there are records so extreme that the math alone says they're permanent. Not because today's players aren't good enough, but because some of these numbers require a level of dominance that the modern game simply doesn't allow anymore. These are 6 darts records that may never be broken, and some of them shouldn't even be possible. Let's start with one you might not expect. In 2010, Phil Taylor sat down after a Premier League match and didn't know he'd just done something no one had ever done before, and no one has done it since. The match was against James Wade in the Premier League final. Taylor opened with a 9-darter in just the second leg. A perfect game. 9 darts, 501 to 0.
9-darter in answer! I do not believe my goggling bins!
No mistakes. That alone would be the highlight of most players' careers. But then, he did it again. Leg 15. Another 9-darter in the same match. 2 perfect games in one night. That had never happened before. And here's the part that really breaks your brain. Between the second 9-darter and the next leg, Taylor threw 7 more perfect darts. That's 16 consecutive perfect darts across 2 legs. He was on track for a third 9-darter before finally missing. His average for the match was 111.67. He didn't just win the Premier League final. He played the single greatest match anyone has ever seen in professional darts. Now, 9-darters happen more often these days. The standard of play is higher than ever. But 2 in one match? That requires perfection to strike twice in the span of minutes. The probability is so low that statisticians have estimated you need to watch tens of thousands of matches before it happened again by chance. Taylor didn't wait for chance. He just did it. Speaking of things that shouldn't be mathematically possible, Michael van Gerwen holds a record that sounds simple but is statistically absurd. Between 2014 and 2019, on the European Tour, he won 28 consecutive matches that went to a deciding leg. Think about that. A deciding leg is a coin flip by nature. Both players have fought to a tie, and it comes down to one final leg. Winning 28 of those in a row is like flipping heads 28 times consecutively. The probability of that happening with a fair coin is roughly 1 in 250 million. Of course, Van Gerwen isn't a fair coin. He was the most feared closer in the sport. When a match went to a decider, his opponents knew they were facing the best pressure player alive, and that fear became part of the record itself. Players would tighten up, miss doubles they'd normally hit. Van Gerwen fed on that. But even accounting for his skill, 28 in a row is almost incomprehensible. The second longest streak in recent years was 12, less than half. And since Van Gerwen's run ended, no active player has strung together more than 13. The competitive landscape has changed. There are more elite players now, more players who can handle pressure, more players who won't fold in a decider. That's what makes this record feel permanent. The sport got too good for anyone to dominate deciding legs like that again. Now we need to talk about the record that everyone knows about, but nobody truly appreciates the scale of. Phil Taylor won 16 world championships. Let me put that in context. Michael Jordan won 6 NBA championships. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. Rafael Nadal won 14 French Opens. Phil Taylor won 16 World Darts Championships, and 14 of those were in the PDC alone, including 8 in a row from 1995 to 2002. 8 consecutive World Championship titles. In any sport, that's absurd. Imagine winning Wimbledon 8 years in a row, or the Masters, or the World Cup. Every single year, you walk into the biggest tournament in your sport and you win it for 8 straight years against everyone. The closest anyone has come since? Luke Littler has won 2 in a row. Michael van Gerwen won 3 total across his entire career. The gap between Taylor's 16 and second place is so vast that you could remove half of Taylor's titles and he'd still be the record holder. And here's why it won't be broken. The sport is too competitive now. Taylor dominated an era where a handful of players were genuinely world class. Today there are 20 or 30 players who can beat anyone on their night. The depth of talent makes sustained dominance nearly impossible. Littler might be the best player since Taylor, but even he'll face a landscape where a first-round upset can end any world championship run. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. I cover the biggest stories and records in darts every week, and there's a lot more where this came from. Taylor's world championship record is about sustained dominance over decades, but the next record is about one single stretch of concentrated perfection. In 2008, Phil Taylor won 60 consecutive matches without a loss. 60. That's not 60 legs, not 60 sets. 60 full matches against professional opponents across multiple tournaments over nearly 4 months. To understand how ridiculous this is, consider the schedule. PDC players compete in multiple events every week. Floor tournaments, majors, Premier League nights. You're not facing club players. You're facing tour card holders who practice 8 hours a day, and you have to beat every single one of them back to back for 4 months straight. The PDC's own statistician ran the numbers. Even if a player won every match across 2 entire Super Series blocks, that still wouldn't reach 60. The competition structure itself doesn't easily allow a streak this long anymore. Michael van Gerwen had a 30-match winning streak in 2016. That's the closest anyone has come. Half of Taylor's record, and Van Gerwen was arguably at the peak of his powers when he achieved it. 60 matches, no losses. It's not just the best winning streak in darts. It might be the most dominant stretch in any individual sport, period. Now for a record that's less famous, but might be the most mathematically untouchable of all. In the 2017 World Championship semifinal against Raymond van Barneveld, Michael van Gerwen averaged 114.05 over 32 legs. That's not a short match where a hot streak inflated the numbers. That's a full semifinal, the longest format before the final itself, played against one of the greatest players in history. To put 114.05 into perspective, a professional average is around 95. An elite average is 100 plus. An exceptional average is 105. Van Gerwen averaged 114 for an entire semifinal at the World Championship. And Van Barneveld, on the other side, averaged 109, which would have been the highest losing average ever recorded. 2 players playing at a level that shouldn't be possible at the same time, and one of them still lost by a wide margin. The second highest World Championship match average in history is Phil Taylor's 111.21, set in 2002. Nobody else has come close to Van Gerwen's 114.05 in nearly a decade. The PDC's own analyst calculated that to approach this record over a match that long, a player would need to sustain 4 consecutive sessions of 6 legs averaging in the mid-110s. The probability is, in his words, astronomically small. And finally, a record that perfectly captures the insanity of professional darts. In the 2022 PDC World Championship, Michael Smith threw 83 maximum 180s across the entire tournament. 83 times he hit triple 20 with all 3 darts. The previous record was held by Gary Anderson with 64. Smith didn't just break it, he obliterated it by 19. The thing about this record is that it requires 2 things that rarely coexist. You need to be an elite scorer who hits 180s at a freakish rate, and you need to go deep in the tournament so you have enough legs to accumulate them. Smith went all the way to the final that year, playing the maximum number of matches possible, and his arm never cooled down. Here's the cruel part. He threw 83 perfect scores across the tournament. He played the greatest scoring tournament of anyone in World Championship history, and he still lost the final to Peter Wright. All those 180s weren't enough. But the record stands, and it's going to be incredibly hard to match. You need Smith-level scoring consistency. You need to reach at least the final, and you need to sustain it across 3 weeks of competition. Even Littler, who dominates the 180 charts, hasn't come close to 83 in a single World Championship. 6 records, 2 players who appear over and over, Taylor and Van Gerwen. And that's not a coincidence. These records aren't just about numbers. They're about what happens when a generational talent meets a moment in the sport's history where that kind of dominance is possible. Taylor dominated when the field was smaller, and he was light years ahead of everyone else. Van Gerwen dominated when the sport was growing, but before the depth of talent caught up. Today, with prize money reaching £1 million for the World Championship winner and players from 30 countries competing professionally, the sport is too deep for anyone to dominate like that again. These records are frozen in time. products of eras that won't come back. And the scary thing? The players who set them probably weren't even trying to set records. They were just trying to win. The records were a side effect of being that good. And when that next generation comes along, you'll hear about it here. Now, if you're wondering how darts got to the point where players are competing for millions and records like these are even possible, I broke that story down right here. From 3,000 pounds to 1 million pounds. How money completely transformed the sport. That one's worth your time. And if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do.